Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai. All right. I just want to talk about that Jiv Jago, because especially the meaning of Jiv Jago is very important for me, because I need to wake up. So, but we sing the Jiv Jago in the morning, and maybe it can help you and help me get more of a feel for the singing when we actually know the meaning. So again, it's very short, and it's just pretty much what we do. It's Lord Gauranga is calling. Maybe Meghna, you understand it because it's Bengali, right? Yes. So Lord Gauranga is calling. Wake up, sleeping souls. Wake up, sleeping souls. How long will you sleep in the lap of the witch called Maya? Pishachi. It's like a, that's how you pronounce, right? Pishachini. He says, I think in this one, Pishachi Rakole. So she's a witch. Well, Mahatmaya, that's her job is to delude you. And it's an arrangement for Krishna to be deluded in this material world. Because actually the delusions and the suffering that we experience from our delusions is what ultimately gives us the realization to walk towards God rather than to continue under the illusory, I just want to do whatever I want anyway. So anyhow, how we've been sleeping in the lap of the witch called Maya for many lifetimes. So Lord Chaitanya is calling, wake up, sleeping souls, wake up. You don't have to do this. Well, and then he says, you've forgotten the way of devotional service and are lost in the world of birth and death. That's our position. We're lost in this world, birth and death, samsara, repeat, suffering, repeat, over and over and over. And we forgot the simple way of just service unto the Lord, bhakti. I have descended just to save you. Other than myself, you have no friend in this world. This is Bhaktivinoda's ecstatic realization that really, other than the path that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given, we have no friend. We have no friend. Even many other, spiritual paths, they're giving something. I don't, I quote all kinds of different spiritual paths all the time. I was quoting Jesus, But in comparison to what Lord Chaitanya is giving, anyone giving anything less is not our friend. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is such a dear friend to what he's offering us that really, you could say we have no other friend in this world. I have brought the medicine that will wipe out the disease of illusion from which you are suffering. Take this Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, that's the last part, I fall at the Lord's feet, having taken this Mahamantra. So by giving the process of calling out the names of God, these are very special names. If you understand the deeper meanings behind these names, the relationship will even deepen further. So, but just by chanting these syllables, you will get benefit. But by really understanding the meaning and the intention of the mantra, and who the personalities you're calling out to, this is the great medicine that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given. And the process, just chant, that's all. So please wake up. That's woken me up. Maybe I should have started like this, just reading this before we sang. But so I just wanted to kind of remind everyone why we sing that. And now, why don't we read Bhagavatam? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye. And what's it mean? You know? Tanma, you know? Parth, go for it.
Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respect to the obeisances of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana, and to Narayana Rishi, the Supreme Being, and to the connection in the bodies of life.
Jai. Srinvatam Swagada Krishna. Punya Shravana Kirtana. Radyantastohya Badrani. Vidunoti Suhritsatam. Meghna, you know this one? Jai. So regularly hearing the messages of Krishna, we can remove the material desires which are causing us this illusory suffering. So that sounds very attractive. And what do we get instead? Nashta prayeshva badreshu. Nityam bhagavata sevaya. Bhagavati utamashloke. Bhakti bhavati naishtaki. Michael.
By rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed in loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Right. All your troubles that are in your heart will be almost completely destroyed, and love of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. That's what we're all looking for, is love for God, our prem. There's really no greater pleasure in existence, actually. There's a very big difference between material love, and we talk about love all the time, right? Love songs, love movies, love. I love you, you love me. We're a happy family. This was a Barney. This is way older than you. I thought the only one who might get it is Michael, because it was like a Western thing, but... What?
Purple dino, right?
Yes, the purple dinosaur. He's, I love you, you love me. What's that? Okay. Yeah, so I used to love this thing. But anyhow, Barney didn't teach me how to love. I didn't, he didn't really love me. So anyhow, it's... what is the love in this material world is like, you gratify my senses. So we say, I love you. Oh, you're very nice at gratifying my senses. As soon as our senses aren't gratified from that person, no, I don't love you anymore. Divorce, or whatever the thing is. My senses are no longer gratified, finished. I'm finished with you. So like this is what the material world is. But prem is different. It's similar. It's all about gratifying senses. But when you gratify the Lord's senses, when you're working to gratify the Lord's senses, I hope this is pleasing to you, Lord. Or I hope this is pleasing to your devotees, or the living entities, that you're in the heart of that living entity. I'd like to offer this. I want to please you. This is love. But it has nothing to do with your own senses. This is the difference. When it's about your senses, it's lust. Or the material love, you could say. It's kama. But when it's about the Lord's senses, it's a different level of kama. It's a transcendental kama. And it's love, it's prem. But it's very tough to shift from it's all about me to it's all about you. Don't pick a specific you, like, if I please ton my senses, this is going to be the summum bonum of existence. Maybe it could help because the Lord is within your heart. But ultimately, we should understand there's more to existence rather than one living entity. Well, there's actually one living entity, you could say, is the Lord. and all the other living entities are connected to him / her. So this is what we're looking for. But I don't know if that's the subject matter right now in Bhagavatam. Bhishma was actually last time, remember, lying on the bed of arrows. All the Pandavas, Krishna, they're gathering. They want to hear from Bhishma before he passes from this world. Yudhisthira is unconsolable. He cannot be, he's lamenting the millions of people who have died. Krishna had let him fall into this illusion. Even he couldn't instruct him. Probably could have, but he wanted to glorify his devotee. And so Bhishma, he began glorifying Krishna and glorifying the Pandavas for being connected to Krishna, that you could have the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your own family. How wonderful, how fortunate you are. And then he glorified Krishna, his position, topmost, Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, what does he do next? He starts telling everyone about the essence of, I'll read the actual verse. The essential principles of various religious duties. That's what Yudhisthira asked Bhishma about. So, Bhishma first defined all the classifications of castes and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualifications. So he was talking about, everyone starts out in student life, and then for those who are very strong and can remain detached from the world, they can take brahmacharya, brahmacharini, renounced life, their whole life. And for those who have some type of attachment in the material world, okay, don't worry, we have an order for you. This is called the Grahastha Ashram. Here, cohabit with a wife or a husband and learn the same lesson that the brahmachari maybe already learned. Oh, we should cultivate detachment from these things. But you'll learn firsthand. There's no more better teacher than the Grahastha Ashram. You'll all go in and then you'll learn it. So no problem. So I'm learning every day. My wife is learning. Okay, this is not something to be attached to. So it's, he said, then he systematically in twofold divisions described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. That's what Prabhupada is saying. And ultimately, if we interact with the world, and we become very attached, and we have to also kind of counteract that at the same time. And the way to do that is to actually take everything that you're interacting with and offer it to Krishna, offer it to the divine. This is the bhakti process. What we speak about, what we hear, what we consume from all angles of our senses, Krishna related, the Supreme Absolute Truth related. This will solve our problem. So he talks about it, so then from Grahastha you go to Vanaprastha, retired life, and detaching more and more and more. And then if you'd like, you could even go to Sannyas, which is completely detaching from any connection from the opposite sex, and any connection into family, and fully. It's not, actually, there's an injunction against it in Kali Yuga. There's Shastric injunction, do not take sannyas in Kali Yuga. But Lord Chaitanya did take.
You shouldn't take sannyas in Kali Yuga.
There's 4 things recommended not to do in the Shastra. I have to forget which Shastra. But the Ashvamedha Yagyas, cow sacrifices, Gomedha Yagyas, and then taking sannyas, and there's one other thing.
What do you mean by taking sannyas?
Taking sannyas means taking the formal order of sannyas. Like there's
Going to a mutt or going
Accepting the renounced order.
like completely detaching from the family, and there's like a yagya to take sannyas.
Yeah.
But to do this, now that being said, Lord Chaitanya did it, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada did it, our Srila Prabhupada did it, but it's explained it's only for a certain.
You should not approach bhakti with sannyasi mindset, I think, or in the beginning stages at least.
Well, you can even use that thing, but it's forbidden in Kali Yuga. Why? Because pretty much it's thought that the conditioned souls of this age can't handle it. Oh, the other one is you should not marry You should not offer like your wife to your brother or something. There was ways, like even the Pandavas, they shared a wife, right? But there were ways that, let's just say,
If the brother died.
I died,
Yeah.
and then my brother would then become her husband. That in the ancient times that was okay, but like in Kali Yuga, it's never recommended to do that. Who knows why? Maybe because people would start killing their brothers, or I don't know what over wives. But that's the things not recommended.
Weird affection for the brother while the marriage.
Yes, and who knows? And the next thing you know, there's murder. Who knows what the reason is? But you should. These are the 4 things not recommended. But anyhow, it is an ancient system to take sannyas. And also Lord Chaitanya, again, he did it to lead by example. That one can do it if one is completely and firmly fixed. But it's not for beginners, that's for sure. In the meme terms. So now, then the other side of things. What are the occupational duties? What is the classification of work? What is your nature? What is your varna? So most people in Kali Yuga have Shudra. Even if you're born Brahmin or you're born Vaishya, everyone mostly has Shudra qualities. Shudra means,
His mind is not fixed on God.
Yeah, well, essentially, but Shudra has the tendency that they're just satisfied to fulfill their senses. Put food in their belly, maybe they get some sex life, and that's good enough for them. So usually they'll serve any other of the orders that help them get what they want, which is the basic necessities of life. So usually Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and Brahmanas, they would serve anyone. Well, you got a paycheck, right? And nowadays we're all looking for a paycheck, or the job, or this, that, and the other. This is actually the Shudra activity. But ultimately, Prabhupada is recommending we all come to the platform of Brahman and above. How? By, what is a Brahmana? What's it mean to be a Brahmana?
Who knows scripture?
Yes. Actually, it's in the word, one who knows Brahma. Yes, which is spirit, and that's going to be found in the scriptures, but it's going to be found in the practices, the meditative, a lifestyle around figuring out the absolute truth, and it's an injunction. If one, let's say you even take Diksha initiation. Diksha means you get the Gayatri mantras, the Janayu, right? Did I pronounce that right? Janayu? Yeah, Janayu. Okay, so let's say you get all these things. Actually, it's quite the, let's say you were following everything very strictly. It's quite the responsibility, because you really shouldn't, becoming a Brahmana, you shouldn't be taking orders from others. You should become independent and maintain whatever Krishna provides you, take like that. Why? Because actually most others who will give you resources are going to usually be less spiritually advanced from you, and it'll just be painful to do them service, because you'll be serving their whims and their sensory gratification. And ultimately, it's very painful. It is said in emergency you can do it, but you can take to the role of being a Vaishya or mercantile or a business person. Never a Kshatriya. A Brahmin should never ever say, oh, it's an emergency, I should be a fighter now. That's never recommended for a Brahmin. But Kshatriya and Shudra are forbidden for one who takes the Brahmin order. But it's very difficult to uphold these principles. So Prabhupada wants us to go like this. But, if you just know what the orders of life are and how to act in each duty, you can actually make advancement. That's the whole point of them. So let's say right now, and you might have to acknowledge this, we're all born Shudra in Kali Yuga. All born Shudra. So I was born Shudra. I used to do the stereotypical Shudra work. Picking strawberries and picking weeds and working for this farm, for this, that, and the other. Actually, it's only by good fortune that somehow or other it's evolving, but I've been able to do more and more Brahminical activity and work in my life. But only really by the mercy of Krishna. I really don't even know how it happened. But you have to start where you're at, you know. So you might have to go to work, serve the boss, you know. For you guys, it's like inevitable, you know. For the those of you, if you want to preserve your visa status, this, that, and the other, no problem. But what you should do is you should use a portion of the fruits of your activities, which would really be your money, and you should put a portion of it at least towards someone who is able to take that that higher work. Because even though you're rendering service to, let's say, I don't know, what company is it? What's a company you like, Tanmay? What's your dream job? Yes. What's on the forefront? What's a company you think, okay, that would be a good fit? Piyush, you might have a better idea.
Sorry?
A company you think would be a good fit?
No. A startup that can go public real quick.
Where?
A startup that can go public real quick and raise good funding.
Yes. This is the idea. But name one that you're looking at.
One startup. Apple is not a startup. For another company? Okay, so I will say Spotify is my favorite company.
Spotify. Okay, good. So let's say you get the job at Spotify. But still the CEO of Spotify, all of the board members and all the big guys, they're all eating meat, they're all women mongering and, you know, or men mongering or whatever, you know, sex mongering. You know, they're all doing, you know, low grade type of activities, but we have to support, we have to. Even us, we go to buy boga and food, right? We got to go to Costco, give money to the Costco people. They're slaughtering animals. They're doing so many sinful things. They have, like, right in the back corner where all the produce is. It's like, oh, here's the corner where we display all the murdered animals. And you just see it, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's just life. But, you know, but still, there's fault. But if we take whatever we get from Costco and we offer it to Krishna to the best of our ability, then this activity becomes perfect and purified. So this is what anyone has to do. Whether it's Spotify or some consulting company or this, that, and the other thing, we have to somehow take our actions, and then also you could see from, like, say someone like Yashoda Dalal, I don't know if you remember here, a lot of times he brings Krishna consciousness into the workplace. You know, like he'll tell his coworkers and things like that in a very appropriate way, not like, well, now I'm here at work and now I'm going to be the Brahmin of the workplace and I'm going to, you know, be the preacher here. No, but in a very appropriate way he brings. So all of these qualifications of life, you know, the Kshatriya, the ruling class, the martial class, they protect the citizens. In this Kali Yuga, Kshatriyas and Brahmanas are almost non-existent. And it's actually by this Krishna consciousness movement that there's a potential revitalization of Brahmin ideals. But still, even in that, it's just a very tall order to somehow be Brahminical. And we're not trained for it at all in Kali Yuga. So anyhow, what's mostly left are Vaishyas, or business people. They're the capitalists, you know, capitalist governments, and then there's the Shudras, which is more the socialist, communist type of movements, where everything's equal, just giving everything, you know. But none of these will be successful in the long term, because it's not following. So Bhishma is actually giving how to properly order society. And so anyway, that's where we ended off. So now we'll do 27. Dana Dharman Raja Dharman Moksha Dharman Vibhagashaha Sri Dharman Bhagavad Dharman Samasa Vyasa Yogataha Dana Dharman, the acts of charity, Raja Dharman, pragmatic activities of the kings, Moksha Dharman, the acts of salvation, Vibhagashaha, by divisions, Stri Dharman, duties of women, Bhagavat Dharman, the acts of the devotees, Samasa, generally, Vyasa, explicitly, Yogataha, by means of. He then, oh, what a purport. That's all we're going to do today. He then explained by divisions acts of charity, the pragmatic acts, activities of a king, and activities for salvation. Then he described the duties of women and devotees, both briefly and extensively. So Bhishma is giving all these things. Let's just chant to the gurus, because I'll forget otherwise. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishlaya Bhutale Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. To give charity is one of the householder's main functions, and he should be prepared to give in charity at least 50% of his hard-earned money. It's heavy order. We talked about Rupa Goswami's system yesterday. A brahmachari or student should perform sacrifices, a householder should give charity, and a person in the retired life or in the renounced order should practice penances and austerities. Those are the general functions of all the ashrams, or orders of life on the path of self-realization. In the brahmachari life, the training is sufficiently imparted so that one may understand that the world as property belongs to the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. No one therefore can claim to be the proprietor of anything in the world. Therefore, in the life of a householder, which is a sort of license for sex enjoyment, one must give in charity for the service of the Lord. Everyone's energy is generated or borrowed from the reservoir of energy of the Lord. Therefore, the resultant actions of such energy must be given to the Lord in the shape of transcendental loving service for Him. As the rivers draw water from the sea through the clouds and again go down to the sea, similarly our energy is borrowed from the Supreme Source, the Lord's energy, and it must return to the Lord. That is the perfection of our energy. The Lord, therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita 9:27 says that whatever we do, whatever we undergo as penance, whatever we sacrifice, whatever we eat, or whatever we give in charity, must be offered to Him, the Lord. Remember when we went to the Ramapad Swami in Rochester, and these little kids, they were chanting. This was their favorite verse. So this one that we were just saying. So anyhow, that is the way of utilizing our borrowed energy. When our energy is utilized in that way, our energy is purified from the contamination of material inebrieties or material intoxication and attachments. And thus we become fit for our original natural life of service to the Lord. So in student life, one must come to the realization. So if you want a hint, because you guys are ready to get into grahastha life. So maybe some of you are ready to get married, some of you are ready to get job and have this security. So the way to do that with Krishna's blessing is to understand the teachings of the previous ashram, to graduate from. What really needs to be understood in brahmachari life or brahmacharini life is that everything is the property of the Lord. Everything is the property of the Lord. And if you understand that, then you'll know how to use the Lord's resources to give it back to the Lord. Even, and the Lord has been testing me with that for years now. Somehow or other, some money has been accumulated. I'm like, okay, we're going to buy the house. Great. But me and my wife have had this realization many times. This is not our house. This is more your guys' house than it is our house. We have the little spot in the basement. But that's really it. This is for others. Your life should become for others. You have to give 50. Prabhupada is saying at least 50% of his hard-earned money. Like I actually own one car, the van. I get no pleasure when I drive the van by myself. I tell you guys all the time, I don't get pleasure unless there's many people in this van. Because that's the function of everything, is the service of the Lord. We have to learn to use everything in the Lord's service, not to try and hoard things for your own gratification. Now, it's a process. It's not easy to just go from completely attached to completely detached. You have to start from maybe 100% attached to 99% attached, and 1% detachment has been made, and slowly work the process. So this is how you can go through the orders of life to work these processes. So begin by this. Whatever you do, offer to Krishna. Find out a way to offer to Krishna, and if you can't offer that to Krishna, like, I like having, I like to hire prostitutes on the weekends or something like this. You can't offer that to Krishna. So better you get married instead. Okay, I have a really strong attachment to sex life. Get married and have children and offer them to Krishna. No problem. And like this, whatever it is you have, you can just begin to offer these things to Krishna. You have some money, offer some to Krishna. Find out a way. Either yourself personally or find those who are very good at doing that, and so on. So, continued, Rajadharma is a great science. Unlike modern diplomacy for political supremacy, so Rajadharma is the duties of kings or rulers. The kings were trained systematically to become munificent or generous and merciful, and not merely be tax collectors. That's very different from today's system. They were trained to perform different sacrifices only for the prosperity of the subjects. To lead the prajas to the attainment of salvation was a great duty of the king. Does he explain what a praja is?
Praja is the constituency.
The what?
The constituency. The constituents.
Yeah.
People who live.
Oh, okay. I see. Very good. The father, the spiritual master, and the king are not to become irresponsible in the matter of leading their subjects to the path of ultimate liberation from birth, death, diseases, and old age. When these primary duties are properly discharged, there is no need of government of the people by the people. Prophet's always taking a shot at democracy. Why? Because it doesn't work. You see, it's just a popularity contest. And if, and the popularity contest, it doesn't matter how qualified they are. If it's popular to be unqualified, you're going to have unqualified rulers. What's to speak of all the cheating and all the other things that also happen. So anyway, Prabhupada takes shots against democracy many times. In modern days, the people in general occupy the administration by the strength of manipulated votes. That's all these campaign advertisements or this, that, and the other thing. Oh, we'll do this program for student loans, or we'll do this, and then they'll manipulate. This one's going to give the most sense gratification. They're usually just false promises, and they screw you over anyway. Or they give you here, and they take even more from you over there behind your back in some legislation. You're like, oh, crap. So anyway, But they are never trained in the primary duties of the kings. There's a system on how to actually rule, be a ruler. If you ever have to rule something, you can learn this system. So, let me see. Where was I?
Under the circumstances.
Oh, okay. Under the circumstances, the untrained administrators play havoc to make the subjects happy in all respects. On the other hand, these untrained administrators gradually become rogues and thieves and increase the taxation to finance a top-heavy administration that is useless for all purposes. This was true in 1970 when he wrote it, or even earlier. He might have wrote this, actually, think even earlier, maybe even as early as the early 60s or late 50s. But it's just as true now. Actually, the qualified Brahmins are meant to give direction to the kings for proper administration in terms of the scriptures, like the Manu Samhita and Dharma Shastras of Parashara. A typical king is the ideal of the people in general, and if the king is pious, religious, chivalrous, and munificent, the citizens generally follow him. Such a king is not a lazy, sensuous person, living at the cost of the subjects, but alert always to kill thieves and dacoits. What is a dacoit?
Dacoit is like the looters who, in the Wild West, the people who.
Yes, I have a general idea, but I want to know exactly what makes it a difference between a thief, a member of a band of armed robbers. Okay, so it's a member of an armed gang.
Yeah.
Okay, who
Soja,
so like that. All right. The pious kings were not merciful to dacoits and thieves in the name of nonsensical ahimsa or nonviolence. The thieves and dacoits were punished in an exemplary way so that in the future no one would dare commit such nuisances in an organized form. Such thieves and dacoits were never meant for administration as they are now. Actually, just one thing I just thought of yesterday, I saw something that Trump had made the cartels, the drug cartels, in Mexico, an official terrorist group. So that means the military is going to go after these people, which actually might be good, because what are they instead? They're actually groups of dacoits, but actually they're so organized that actually they were paying off other portions of the government in other places to do so much trafficking and so much nasty business at the borders and things like this. So I don't know if this administration will do anything really against that. But this is a symptom of what it means, to have no real justice or punishment. Maybe they could make an example of some of these people. But if a thief, for instance, in the ancient times, if a thief stole something, they got their hand chopped off. That was the kind of, that was the system. Oh, you're a thief. Well, you can now, this hand you took, gone. And then if that happened to someone you knew, you were like, oh, I'm definitely not going to take anything. If I get caught, my hands, I need my hands. And it forces you to, be a better person. Even if in the mind you would want to steal. But nowadays, I think in California they have a type of government somehow that you can just go in the store and you just take whatever you want and no one can do anything.
If it's under
And
some 2,000 or something, 5,000.
yeah, whatever. Just like, all right, well, this one, I'll take 2,000 from this one. I'll take 2,000 from this one. You could just go shopping for free. And yeah, for whatever reason. And then so now they have all these armed dacoits raiding technology stores and everyone's got their hands up and this person's snatching every phone, ripping them off the thing. But why? Because there's no real punishment. No one knows how to actually rule a government. If those people knew their hand was going to get chopped off, they wouldn't do that. It's simple, Even when we discipline our children, I'm going to be practicing this. Nowadays, people don't ever hit them, don't ever hit them. And then you see these kids in the stores and they're screaming, yeah! If I ever did that when I was a kid in the store, I would get a little shot and I would know not to do that. But some of these kids are so bad. Why? Because no one knows how to actually rule anybody properly. And it has to do with, same thing with pets too. I learned how to train a dog, so I had to train my dog. Animals know one language, force. Most people are animal consciousness. They know one language, force. You just have to force them. Because, yeah, so this is, my dog is very well trained. Why? Because if he was bad, I would correct him with my hand or not a stick usually, but usually like a spanking. And then okay. And then he goes and does what he is going to do. But other dogs, never hurt them. And this dog's over here, like, on your leg. He's trying to, what is that thing they do? This disgusting thing. You hump the leg, like, what is this? Why? Because no one knows how to actually, discipline. There's an art. It's a Vedic science to discipline. It must be done. But anyhow, in our politically correct environment nowadays, nobody gets any discipline.
It's gonna change for 4 years at least.
What's that?
I think things gonna change for 4 years at least.
I don't know about that. We'll see. Anyhow, but even these guys, maybe they want to discipline one way, but then there's no discipline in another way. Animals are still being slaughtered. This, that, and the other thing. That's very cute. So anyhow, so Raja Dharma has to be there.
Stealing my spot.
Where are we?
The taxation law was simple. New paragraph. The taxation law.
Oh, we finished that.
Yes.
The taxation law was simple. There was no force, no encroachment. The king had a right to take 1/4 of the production made by the subject. So 25% tax blanketed. That's actually a better situation than we're currently getting in our so-called democracy.
You're getting like 40 to 45%, right?
Oh yeah, everything you do is tax. This tax, that tax, this tax. You want this? You want to make this purchase? There's a tax. It's basically like socialism. So the taxation law was simple. There was no force, no encroachment. 1/4 of the production made by the subject. The king had a right to claim 1/4 of one's allotted wealth. One would never grudge parting with it because due to the pious king and religious harmony, there was enough natural wealth, namely grains, fruits, flowers, silk, cotton, milk, jewels, minerals, etc., and therefore no one was materially unhappy. The citizens were rich in agriculture and animal husbandry, and therefore they had enough grains, fruits, and milk without any artificial needs of soaps and toilets and cinemas and bars. All these, this consumer lifestyle that we're kind of getting into more and more and more. But because we have no pious rulers, those things are all gone. You can't even go outside anymore. It's like depressing. Anywhere you go, you can't even find like land. And what's to speak, there's definitely you're not going to find any wealth in the land. Those guys are on the beaches with the metal detectors. You've seen like this. They're on the beaches trying to find like a little bit of wealth. But there used to be wealth everywhere. But what's happened, it's all been plundered and built over with, concrete and this, that, and the other thing. So anyhow, why? Because of impious rulers. The king had to see that the reserved energy of humanity was properly utilized. Human energy is meant not exactly for fulfilling animal propensities, but for self-realization. The whole government was specifically designed to fulfill this particular purpose. So this is the type of government that Bhishma was talking about. Doing one's duties, ashram dharma, varnashram dharma. And it ultimately leads to moksha, or freedom from attachment and liberation from the sufferings of the bondage of this world. But, that's not where we're at now. As such, the king had to select properly the cabinet ministers, but not on the strength of voting background. The ministers, the military commanders, and even the ordinary soldiers were all selected by personal qualification, and the king had to supervise them properly before they were appointed to their respective posts. The king was especially vigilant to see that the tapasvis, or persons who sacrifice everything for spreading spiritual knowledge, were never disregarded. The king knew well that the Supreme Personality of Godhead never tolerates any insult to his unalloyed devotees. So such tapasvis, who do all kinds of austerities, were trusted leaders even of the rogues and thieves, who would never disobey the orders of the tapasvis. So even the rogues and the thieves, they would get counsel from these people who did austerity. So this is actually what we should do as well. We have so many things we do, and we try and figure out so many things by ourselves. Ask someone who is, has a different vantage point. They're not entangled in so many things. A tapasvi, or a devotee, of a high caliber. And this is the system, to be an advisor. The king would give special protection to illiterates, the helpless, and widows of the state. Defense measures were arranged previous to any attack by the enemies. The taxing process was easy, and it was not meant for squandering, but was for the strengthening the reserve fund. The soldiers were recruited from all parts of the world, and they were trained for special duties. So these are some of the Rajadharmas. And so now he's talking about, I think, Moksha Dharma. As far as salvation is concerned, one has to conquer the principles of lust, anger, unlawful desires, avarice or greed, and bewilderment. To get freedom from anger, one should learn how to forgive. This is an art. Somebody, does something wrong to you, you have to learn how to forgive them. Especially for the Brahmin, or someone aspiring to be Brahminical. To be free from unlawful desires, one should not make plans. That's interesting. I make so many plans. So one should not make plans, he's saying. By spiritual culture, one is able to conquer sleep. By tolerance only can one conquer desires and greed. So we have to learn to tolerate and not make plans. If we have a plan, how often do you guys tell me, like, well, I don't know what Krishna's planning, or I had this plan, but Krishna's doing this plan. Your plans never work out anyway, so might as well not really make too much plan. Just maybe have a direction you think you're supposed to go, and see if Krishna sanctions or doesn't sanction. If Krishna,
I'm learning it the hard way.
yes, don't make too many plans. Just see what Krishna sanctions.
Difficult when your time is running out.
Yes. But your time is not really running out. Even if your bodily time was running out, no problem. There's nothing that's going to. So let's see. We gotta get through this. We're almost done. Disturbances from various diseases can be avoided by regulated diets. Right, Michael? Yes, this is very important. Disturbance from various diseases can be avoided by regulating the diet. By self-control, one can be free from false hopes, and money can be saved by avoiding undesirable association. That's a great way to save money. Just don't hang out with people who are going to tell you, like, for instance, I hope no one's watching, but, we stopped hanging out with our friends and family, but, they're always, like, come on, we're spending all this money, we're going this, the bar, then the hotel, and this and that, and I'm like, you're going to do like $1,200 this weekend? Like, yeah, everyone does it. Like, hell no, So you just saved $1,200 just by, like, I don't really hang out with you guys anymore. Why? Because it's just, and really what's going to happen is that, your blood, sweat, and tears goes into that $1,200, And so you it's not easy to come by wealth in this world. So to just so frivolously spend it, you have to control who you hang out with. And that's why the business guys, they say, if you want to be rich, hang out with rich people. And what do rich people do? They save their money. They're not out on the weekends blowing all their money to bits. Maybe at some point when they become so rich, then that's what they do. But to get rich, no, that's not how you do it. So anyway, unless, there's like a few ways that you could potentially get rich. But we're not trying to get rich, actually. We're not here, we're trying to control ourselves from these false hopes. So by practice of yoga, one can control hunger, and worldliness can be avoided by culturing the knowledge of impermanence. Dizziness can be conquered by rising up, and false arguments can be conquered by factual understanding. That's interesting. Dizziness can be conquered by rising up. And false arguments can be conquered.
What do you mean? Reasons can be?
Like dizziness, if you get like dizzy, I think by just standing up,
Oh.
and, you know, that can help with dizziness. I don't know in what context where that's coming from, but I don't need to necessarily know. And worldliness can be avoided by culturing the knowledge of impermanence. So, you know, we don't need to know all of the different, you know, technical sciences of this material world. I mean, some of you, like Parth, that's his work. You know, that's how he maintains himself. So no problem. But if he's, you know, on his downtime, like, oh, let me check out more of these material sciences, then he's just wasting his life. So no one waste your life, you know. For me, I was very interested, as I was a rascal. I was very interested in the sciences of, you know, women and this, that, and the other thing. They're all sciences. There's all sciences and all these things. But it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. And it only, what it really does, it gives you facility to do unlawful things that are only going to cause you all kinds of suffering. So anyhow, false arguments can be conquered by factual understanding. Factual, you know, actually, you know, really taking good, proper guidance from the Shastras, from the sadhus, from the gurus, tapasvis. Talkativeness can be avoided by gravity. So being serious, that's what gravity is. Being, you know, if you're like serious, you know, you won't be so talkative. I can be a little talkative, but we should actually be quite serious. You know, this is one of the qualities of a devotee. You know, it's a serious process. It's not a, you know, you know, you could die at any moment. Anything could happen that could take you so far into like pits of suffering. You know, so we should be very serious about our situation, and then you can get rid of talkativeness, and silence. Oh, and silence. So be serious and silent. And by prowess, one could avoid fearfulness. So if you cultivate strength and enthusiasm in your whatever strength you have, you can avoid fearfulness. Perfect knowledge can be obtained by self-cultivation. One must be free from lust, avarice, anger, dreaming, etc., to actually attain the path of salvation. As far as the women class are concerned, they are accepted as a power of inspiration for men. As such, women are more powerful than men. Mighty Julius Caesar was controlled by a Cleopatra. Such powerful women are controlled by shyness. Therefore, shyness is important for women. Once this control valve is loosened, women can create havoc in society by adultery. Adultery means production of unwanted children known as Varna Shankar, who disturb the world. So now there's all kinds of Sri Dharma. My wife studies this. It's very... when you can follow these dharmas on how to act, because everyone has a different body, you know. Like, you know, I have two cars. I have the Mazda and I have the van. The van does one thing and it's good at doing one thing, and the Mazda does another thing and it's better at doing another thing. So similarly, there's two bodies. We have the man's body and we have the woman's body. But you know, you can't avoid that, okay, a man's body, you know, if I want somebody to get something off a top shelf, I'm not going to necessarily ask, you know, Meghna as opposed to Parth. Now, there are very tall women as well, you know, but, or if I want somebody to push my car, I'm also not going to, like, you know, Meghna, you know, do you think you can help me with this very heavy lifting? I think I would ask one of you guys instead. Why? Because it's natural. But you know what? If I want someone to clean something nicely or to give some proper thought and care and attention to something, I always know to ask a woman. Yeah, because they're much more thoughtful in so many ways like that. Where men, we're not really like that, at least at the base level. So anyway, there's all kinds of, you could call them stereotypes, but there are general norms for men and women, and so how to perform these our duties best can be found in all these dharmas. So anyway, I won't go too much on that. The last item taught by Bhishma Dev was the process of pleasing the Lord. Most important. It's called Bhagavat Dharma. We are all eternal servants of the Lord, and when we forget this essential part of our nature, we are put into material conditions of life. The simple process of pleasing the Lord, for the householders especially, is to install the deity of the Lord at home. By concentrating on the deity, one may progressively go on with daily routine work, worshipping the deity at home, serving the devotee, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, which we're doing today, residing in a holy place, and chanting the holy name of the Lord are all inexpensive items by which one can please the Lord. Thus the subject matter was explained by the grandfather to his grandchildren. So this is also mentioned in Bhagavat Dharma is ultimately the number one conclusion of what? What? Yes. But what is our beginning scripture where that's like the conclusion? Yes, he actually says, Sarva Dharman Parityaja. Give up all these other dharmas and just surrender unto me. Do Bhagavat Dharma. Now, so this is why we have to be very careful with this Niyamagraha principle we talked about last night. We might know something, like Meghna might start reading about Sri Dharma, or Tanmay might start reading about the Dharma of someone in the Shudra or Vaishya class. And he says, oh, well, I have to do this. It says in the Shastras to do this. But if it conflicts with Bhagavat Dharma, it should be rejected. Bhagavat Dharma should be the first and foremost thing one should understand. And if the other dharmas can fit into the Bhagavat Dharma, then they're good. But if they cannot fit into the Bhagavat Dharma, they should be rejected. So like this. This is the ultimate conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. But the Vedic literatures give you different tiers of Dharma, and as you follow and learn to follow them, you can eventually gradually make it to Bhagavat Dharma. You've done so many Dharmas to even make it where you go. It's not like you were just attracted to Krishna, like right away in this lifetime. This is the first time. No, you've done many Dharmas in the past to make yourselves eligible. And that's why some people can just take with it and run with it, because they've done many things in the past to get there. So anyhow, do your dharmas and study the Vedic systems of dharma. There's many. You can study how to properly work, how to give in charity, how to do this, how to do that, this, that, and the other. The more we study these things, then we can know how to properly act in this world. And then we get much better results out of the world. And not only that, we can have a plan, don't make too much plans how it's going to happen, but we can have a plan on how we're going to get free from the Pishachira, the Pishachi Shini or whatever she is, who's snaring us up in this illusory world. We need that plan. That's one plan we need. So Krishna is giving a nice plan. Luckily the purports get shorter next time. But yeah, Hare Krishna. Sorry we went a little long, but just get inspired with you guys.